Welcome to the Funeral Nation Web Show, the best effing web show.
Welcome everybody to Funeral Nation episode number 24. I'm your host Ryan Thogmartin. That is Jeff, the Funeral Commander Harbison, and Jeff 24. We are trucking right along, and the show is getting bigger, badder, and better than ever. We're continuing our conversations around effing change, effing hustle, effing brand. A lot of cool things happening in the funeral profession. Our guest today is bringing some new information and insight into the realm of cremation, which is always a hot topic. So, Jeff, what else can we expect here on episode 24?
Our spotlight on a funeral director is going to come from across the border up in Canada. WTF is going to be pretty interesting. I think it's a different look on mobile cremation, something that hasn't been done or seen much of. So we'll get a good laugh out of that. Ryan, what's the buzz going on out here? I saw something that you had posted by Ellery Balker that really has some teeth to it, I thought, or at least intellectual thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think it warrants a conversation. Ellery had submitted an article to Connecting Directors last week around, the title of the article was if you want your funeral home to be different, you actually have to be different. And this is a conversation that you and I both get to have a lot with funeral directors. From our social side, when we work with a client, we really try to find the differentiator of that client with their competitors. And 99% of the time when you talk to a funeral director and ask them what's different about their firm than their competitors, it comes back to, they say, service. We give better service. And frankly, that's not really a differentiator, and Ellery talks a little bit about that in his article, and I think it warrants a discussion on a global scale, because a lot of funeral directors determine their differentiator as service when the consumer really expects great service regardless of the funeral home they choose. And it's what you're really doing above and beyond that normal service that starts to look at that differentiator and what that should be.
I agree with you. I've asked that question my whole career in this industry and said, what's different about you than your competitor down the street? And almost inevitably, we give better service. And my retort has always been, have you been to several of their services? Have you been to their arrangement process? How do you know? Right? That's right. A tangible. So you have to pull that out. And, we have lots of different things. There's legacy and heritage and that sort of stuff. I even had a guy one time tell me, we have better carpet in our chapel than the other guys do, right? Same thing with cars and vehicles. That's expected to have a decent bottom line, but you're right. How do we differentiate ourselves? How do you stand out? How do you stand apart? We saw that with Jeff at Distinctive Life, right? And that's the wave of the future. And so something we need to continue to talk about with our effing change, effing hustle, right?
That's right.
That's part of it.
That's right. I would encourage everyone to read that article on Connecting Directors from prenewbuilders.com. And Ellery actually gives some suggestions on some things you could be doing to be perceived different by your community. So great stuff. Shameless plug. The Buzz segment of Funeral Nation Show is brought to you by Disrupt Media. Disrupt Media is a full-service social media agency serving the funeral profession. Also, the creators of Disrupt You, a twice-a-week web show where we hit on all the hot topic discussions and questions in the funeral profession. So check that out on YouTube.
Well, today we got a really special guest. He's actually making a reappearance. It's going to be Paul Masters, licensed funeral director, attorney, and industry, what I would call a cremation superlative. So let's roll that tape. Hey, Paul, welcome back to the Funeral Nation Show. You've been a guest here before, but please reiterate and tell us a little more about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on here again. I guess I didn't burn any bridges yet, so this is what I can do today. My background, funeral director, embalmer, and then through my company, death care, regulatory support, and legal support, working just within death care for funeral homes, cemeteries, and crematories. as a, consultant, attorney, whatever they need.
Excellent. Well, I mean, you're a man that lives on the speaking tour quite a bit. I saw you out at Cana in January, and you speak at a lot of different other events. A lot of what you talk about is on the cremation side. Can you give us some insight to what the latest is around cremation and what folks are talking about out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So cremation, it's definitely probably the biggest area I get into, and the main reason is that I always like cremation. I always say it's the equalizer. Doesn't matter if you're a funeral home. It doesn't matter if you're a cemetery. It doesn't matter what part of this profession you're in, even if you're a supplier. Cremation affects everybody. So one of the big things I've been working with is ICCFA. We have a cremation arranger program that we've taken out to the people that are out there, all the arrangers. Could be a licensed funeral director, could be a pre-need person, could be anybody just working with families. And we've really tried to make a focus on what those issues are. What are we seeing? Not only with consumers, what they're choosing, but the information we have to get to them, because there's obviously a lot of liability in the area.
Interesting. Paul, what would you deem probably some of the most kind of top shelf issues that funeral directors and anyone offering cremation should really be paying attention to, especially now in 2016?
When we're getting into cremation, the things I tell people are one, transparency. People want to know what's going on. The question I always ask any arranger, I said, what do you think the biggest question a family has? And by and large, everybody agrees that the question that people have is, after the cremation, how do I know my loved one is going to be in this earth? And I said, all right, we all agree that's a big question among consumers. So transparency would dictate that we have to talk about that. So how many of you during the arrangement process actually talk about that issue? Nobody. Because they're afraid of it. They're like, oh, Paul, man, if I bring it up, then I'm going to get sued for it. I said, no, right. The problem is that when you hide it and you don't talk about it, people question it, and then you build the levels of distrust, and you're putting up the walls of barrier. So it's transparency, being able to talk and communicate and owning, your process.
Well, Paul, in all your travels and speaking, you get to get your hands a little dirty with new funeral directors entering the profession, having those conversations. I know you were at Mid-America not too long ago for a presentation. What are new funeral directors saying out there? What seems to be the topics they're discussing?
I will leave all the debate on millennials and how they work and all the different generations. I'll leave that to you. The big thing that I'm still seeing are people just trying to figure out what their role is. It's the funeral directors. Everybody's in it for the right reason. They want to help families. The problem is that they sometimes they help too much. I pick on people. I say, your biggest problem is you have a heart. You care too much. And then what happens, especially with these new funeral directors, they try to almost help the family too much. They want to solve every problem. And then the next thing you know, they've kind of made a big mistake. They've screwed up and made a bigger problem. For example, family comes in and says, we don't know what to do. We can't get a hold of her brother. And, we really want to just take care of our mom. And so the funeral director says, you know what, we can do this. We're going to figure it out. And then they cremate. And then a week later, the other son shows up, their brother, and says, what'd you do with my mom? And he's like, oh, my gosh, and realizes trying to help the one family member, they may not know the whole story and have made a bigger mess. And then I'm happy, but nobody else is.
Well, I have to tell you that that's a real subject you're talking about with next to kin's.
Yeah.
And our firm recently just dealt with a wife who has been married and separated for 30 years, but still legally the next to kin to make decisions. And man, when you cut through all that, you better have your ducks in a row, because families will tell you everything. So it's not sort of a mere question, as you were talking about. You really have to dig and make sure, and also note that you as a funeral provider are making a concerted attempt and also document that you asked who is legal next of kin, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead, you can't skip it. We have to make the families aware of how important it is. We just take it on face value. They say, "Yep, we're it," and then we run with it. You got to make sure that you push them a little bit, not to make it harder than what it is, but get the information. Because and the side note here is, while some states still recognize common law marriage, I always tell people, you can be gone there's no common law divorce. I've had friends that have tried. There's no such thing. So you're stuck.
Yeah, that'd be a new practice to take on area for you up there, Joe. Hey, look, not long ago, back in November, we participated, you and all the Funeral Nation did too, of supporting the coat drive. Will you give us an update and how did that finish out from your expectations?
Gosh. Thanks to everybody. Obviously, Funeral Nation, we got a great effing donation from you all. It helped us raise the most money we've ever raised. We wanted 700 new coats. We got 701, just to make a point, plus about 500 hats, gloves, blankets. Overall, about $50,000 in new retail value of items for families and distribute all. So it's the best year ever. And next year we're already pushing. We're already started. We're going to make next year even bigger.
That's fantastic. Excellent. Congratulations and thanks to all the F Nation out there.
Thanks to everybody.
We help with that.
Well, Paul, this is kind of shameless plug time. One of the things that you do to help generate extra dollars for the coat drive is you've got merchandise for sale on your website. And last week we got to spend a little bit of time with you here in Zanesville at our office and actually played your card game that is based off of Cards Against Humanity. So tell us a little bit about that, some of the other merchandise you sell, and how the FNers can get involved in purchasing that.
So again, plug back to you. That was a great time up there. Fantastic. So we started Corpses Attempt Hilarity, our own CAH card game. It's a blast. It was created, one, to raise money, because everything we sell along those lines as merchandise goes straight to the coat drive fund. But we also did it to raise awareness. We want people to talk about death and this death care profession. We're scared to death to talk about it. I have funeral directors that don't know how to talk about embalming to a family. So the card game was meant to almost be a tool for a funeral home to be able to play the game and talk about some of these topics. And I promise you, it may not be as uncomfortable as Cards Against Humanity, but it's pretty uncomfortable and is a fun, uncomfortable game to play. And, thanks to you, last week we sold just a ton of these to raise awareness. And we've made a decision. We are already now starting on version 2. It'll be double the size. The original one we called Lot 1 is 100 cards. Lot 2, the companion set, it'll have 200 cards in it, making it a 300 game pack. Again, people need to go to the website of Masters Consulting, start giving us questions and answers, and we're going to get it made up as soon as we can.
That'd be kind of cool. Something maybe we could do in the future is make that part of the Funeral Nation that will have question and answers that has to come out. Just that little stuff, right?
Yeah.
We got to work together. It's great. Closing up here, Paul, as a funeral attorney, what would you say is the single most important piece of advice you would give for someone that's meeting with families for cremation?
Well, hey, and I didn't do this on purpose, but here, I'll give you the shirt. Let's go with this. Let's go with, if there's a debate, then wait to cremate. How about that?
Dude.
Try to rush the process. Everybody wants everything done. People come in and say, it's Friday, we want a memorial service on Saturday, and funeral directors, man, they jump, and I always tell people, slow down. If you've got debates, wait. There's no need to rush this process. I know everybody wants it quick, but means you have to deliver it like that. So slow it down.
Interesting to go along that same line. I know our folks will share with families, look, the death's occurred, so there's no rush now. Yeah. And I distinctly remember back from some days where I wore a weapon that if the accident has occurred, even if it's a fatality, killing somebody to get there is not going to help anything.
That's it.
Don't turn on the blue lights. Woo, 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 woo. They're dead. Slow down. It's done. Hey, look, Paul, you're going to be at ICCFA, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Spiff over there, Mr. Disrupt You and the old funeral commander, I'll be kind of hard to see because I'm kind of incognito when I'm in public. But we're going to be around with a camera. We'll look for you. And this is going to be great to get together.
Look forward to it.
All right,
Excellent.
bro. Hey, look, just as we finish up, how do we find you, Paul?
I'm everywhere, but go to the site if you want to see me. Ryan's got me hooked up in all the social media now, so Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I love to communicate with everybody. I'll see everybody at ICCFA down in New Orleans. That'll be a great one, and I'm not hard to find. Like I
got you.
I'm POUL. If you type POUL in any death care word, I'm it, man. I'm easy to stalk.
That's it. All right, Paul. Well, thank you, sir.
Hey, big effing thank you to you guys.
Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate all you do.
Thank you, bro.
See ya.
All right.
This outstanding interview segment was brought to us by our sponsor, Memory Care by AP Laser. It's more than just engraving. It's more than just memorying. It's memory care. Really smart. Ryan, roll that promo.
This week's FN interview segment is brought to you by Memory Care, powered by AP Laser. Memory Care is a life story etched forever. To find out more, visit aplaser.com.
Jeff, tell us a little bit about our effing spotlight on a funeral director today. This one's coming from not the United States.
That's right. This was a story that went out, and I thought it was interesting that we share positive stories about what people are doing in the industry to not only affect their community, but also to share a good light on what we do out here. So our spotlight this week is on Shannon Jackson, who's a licensed funeral director and embalmer with the Mosaic Funeral Home in Winnipeg, Canada. Recently, Shannon was profiled in the Winnipeg Free Press in a story titled Death Becomes Her, about her work as a funeral director, as well as changing stereotypes about the funeral profession, including women serving. We encourage everyone to take a look at the Winnipeg Free Press. You can Google it, Death Becomes Her. Great story, great job. Our spotlight shining on Shannon for making a difference in her community and to shed a positive light in the funeral industry. The spotlight on a funeral director was brought to us by our new sponsor, drum roll please, Foreverance. Foreverance is a unique 3D artist. How about let's go ahead and roll their promo.
This episode of Funeral Nation was brought to you by Foreverance.com. The most important stories are the stories of our lives. Foreverance helps individuals and families tell their amazing stories through unique memorial urns and personal tributes. And then, Foreverance.com.
Excellent. Well, that's a spotlight segment. And, that conversation about women in the funeral profession, we got into that a little bit on Disrupt You and got some great feedback and comments. There's a lot of great women funeral directors out there really making a difference. So that was one of a top-notch article, and I'm glad we were able to spotlight Shannon and what she's doing. So, Jeff, now we move into a little lighthearted humor. Is that how we put it?
Yeah, what the funeral is that?
What the funeral. So our WTF segment, you'll be talking about this on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. This segment is brought to us by Save My Ink Forever. Okay, Jeff. So you have deemed this the mobile crematory, cremation on wheel. I don't know what.
Yeah, I think this is mobile cremation gone bad.
That's right.
And there's anyone that's in the profession out there knows that something can go wrong at any time, anywhere. This particular one is all sorts of problems. Not only is it a hearse, hopefully there's no casket in the back, which I'm not going to assume there is, but it's right next to a gas station too.
That'd be
right?
terrible.
I mean,
Be
gas
terrible.
pump. Yeah, so, I mean, you're talking about burning hot and fast. This cat's got it going on, but I'm not sure if we're ready for mobile cremation just yet. So for everybody thinking about that, kind of making a change in the industry, this is not the effing change you want to make.
That's
I'm
right.
just saying, right?
You got it right. I don't think it needs any more explanation than what you just gave it. This WTF segment was brought to us by Save My Ink Forever. Let's roll that promo.
This week's WTF is brought to you by Save My Ink Forever. To learn more about Save My Ink Forever's innovative process, email them at funeral@savemyink.tattoo. Save My Ink Forever. Tattoos offer a lifetime of memories.
Well, when the WTF segment's over, that means we are winding down episode 24. Jeff, what can we look forward to on episode 25? We are a quarter away from episode 100. No.
Yeah, almost.
Almost. There we go.
Yeah. Good thing you're not doing the books, right?
That's right. It's terrible. Man.
There's a calculator up there, but you don't worry about it. You look good. You get the word out. We'll take care of the other math
That
and
sounds
stuff.
all right.
All right. I love you like a play cousin, though. You know that. Next week episode, hopefully we're going to have a special guest with us to talk about 3D technology. We'll have a new spotlight on the funeral director and always a fresh, what the funeral?
That's right. All right. Well, your cigar's about gone. Your drink's about gone. So it's probably time we wrap it up so you can take a nap. So don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Funeral Nation TV, and find us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. That way you get all the updates. We're going to be putting original content there as well. Also potentially live streaming a couple upcoming events. So make sure you are subscribed to us on YouTube. And as always, you can check out funeralnation.tv to submit WTF and Spotlight on a Funeral Director segment suggestions. So please continue to engage with us. It is greatly appreciated. We are hitting a global audience with this show, and we are greatly thankful for all of our FNers out there. So until next time, have a great effing week.
Out here.